Hey guys, it's Fox here with another video, and welcome back to The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. In the last episode, we did some stuff around Ikana Canyon. By some stuff, I mean side quests, which actually we ended up getting 4 heart pieces. As you can see, our heart container is empty, which is sad, but it's actually not sad because that means that we just got another heart container. Hello there. Anyway, this episode, we will be heading back to Ikana Canyon and heading to the 4th dungeon of the game, which, by the way, is my favorite dungeon. So, we are going to go ahead and warp to Ikana Canyon, and we're going to head to Stone Tower, which, if you remember, that was our entire purpose of trying to get into the ancient castle of Ikana, was so that we could learn how to properly get into Stone Tower and eventually Stone Tower Temple. Stone Tower is by far the most interesting place of the game. Nothing actually happens there, but based off of the architecture and just theories about the actual tower, it's very interesting, and I really like that about it. Because we restarted time, I'm gonna take advantage of any jars or pieces of grass we can find to get stuff, and Tad will be quiet. So anyway, as stated in an earlier episode, that right there is Stone Tower. So yeah, it's interesting. So we're just gonna get in our Goron form so that way we can move faster, and we're going to head over there. And if we would maybe go up there, which, by the way, it's not the first time, but it's one of the first times that we've actually heard the theme of Ikana Canyon, because we were here at night most of the time, and you can hear that it's kind of creepy. Well, it's out of the main thing yet, but anyway, forget that. Ouch! Wow, I can't believe you did that. Anyway, so this here is the entrance to Stone Tower. Now, before we go in, something I want to point out is that notice how the architecture is very similar to those pillars right outside of Ikana Canyon back in Termina Field. If you look at it, basically we're climbing up its tongue, which, if you look at, see how its legs look like they're folded there, it's pretty much centering out its crotch area, which is kind of disturbing, to say the least. But this game's about to get a lot more disturbing, so just wait. And with that, we enter Stone Tower. I love the music for this place. By the way, these jumps must be rolling jumps, so if you're not very good at them, I would use the bunny hood. That was close. Just being quiet so you can savor the music. Anyway, what we want to do here is pull out our ocarina, stand on the switch. We see that happens. Nothing much, but it will become much more later on. So what we want to do to hold the switch down, because as you can see it is only a pressure plate, we need to play the Elegy of Emptiness. Now, if you have trouble remembering it, because it is kind of a confusing theme, it's kind of one of the more unique ones, just remember it as right, left, right, down, right, up, left. Just right, left, right, and then as you can see, the down, right, up, left is pretty much rotating the control stick counterclockwise from down, so if that helps you remember it. There you go. So, yeah, it's a creepy clone. Well, actually, they're all creepy. We'll get into some of the other ones later. And by other ones, I don't think I've actually explained that too much. When we create a clone of ourselves, this is our human clone, but we can create a clone in our Goron form, our Zora form, and our Deku form, and it is a completely different form, and it is also a completely different body, so we can have all 4 of them active at a time. That will be explained later on. So, this right here is the introduction of BMOs in this game. BMOs are a recurring enemy in the Zelda series, but this is the first time we've actually seen them in this game. And I find the easiest and fastest way to kill them is by putting a bomb down, and their heads will explode, so be careful because that can damage you. And they just drop more bombs, so that's always great. Give me the health. Alright, so, as I was saying, different forms mean different clones. So if we step on this switch as a Goron, and we play the Elegy of Emptiness, we will create a clone of Darmani. Now, something interesting about all of our forms, not including our human form, is that it is not a clone of Link's form of Darmani, it is a clone of Darmani himself. So as you can see, his battle scar is there, and a lot of the features that the original Darmani had that our current Link doesn't have, such as his hair and such. So, it's kind of disturbing, especially the eyes. The eyes of all of them are very disturbing, except the Link one. The Link one's just weird. But, yeah, I will show you the other ones as we get to them. I'm not going to demonstrate them all right now. But something I'm going to do for Stone Tower is I'm not going to speed up and play music, but I'm going to speed up. Well, I might speed up. I don't know. It depends. It depends how long it takes me to explain what I want to explain. But well, excuse me. I am going to go into post-commentary right now, so that way I can explain some of the theories about Stone Tower and my personal theory, because I don't want to make sure that I get all the points down and I don't want to forget anything. So, with that said, I'm going to head into post-commentary. So there are a lot of theories about Stone Tower, but this one is based off of what I personally believe, based off of other theories and facts from my own experiences. So, the first question is, what actually built the tower? So I believe that the King of Ikana ordered the tower to be built so that he could climb up to the sky to meet the goddesses for whatever reason. However, this must have been for a bad reason. Looking at the architecture of Stone Tower and the surrounding area, it seems that the people of Ikana are not fond of the goddesses. And this is all stuff I've already mentioned, looking at the pillars outside of Ikana Canyon and just some stuff that we're seeing here at Stone Tower itself. Now, as the people of Ikana climbed the tower, the goddesses flipped the entire world. I know it sounds crazy, but trust me, it'll all make sense soon. So that instead of climbing into the heavens, the men climbed straight into the underworld and became the skeletal forms we see them as now. Now, years after, the Garo tribe invaded Stone Tower and took it for themselves, being why the leader of the Garo still currently resides within the temple. I also believe that the Garo was the tribe that the Happy Mask salesman spoke of, who worshipped Majora's Mask. Now, there's a room in Stone Tower Temple, which I'll be sure to point out later on, where I believe the Garo held Majora's Mask, acting as a sort of vault. Then, years late after this, the King of Ikana and his men waged war against the Garo, and this is the war that Captain Kida thinks is still going on, and they tried to invade Stone Tower, but unsuccessfully. This is why the King of Ikana mentioned that climbing Stone Tower is an incredible challenge. But he still knew quite a bit about how to climb it, because he did know about the Elegy of Emptiness and all that, and that's what he taught us. Now, even more years later, Majora's Mask somehow escaped the vault, somehow fell into the hands of the Happy Mask salesman, and then everything falls into its current place. Once again, this is all a big theory, but there is quite a bit of proof, even though I wasn't to mention it all. I could get more into detail later. As we progress through Stone Tower Temple, I'm going to be mentioning some things such as why it makes sense that the goddesses flipped the tower and this vault. It's all going to make sense once we're done with Stone Tower Temple. And along the way, I'll make sure to point out some of these facts that I mentioned. But I think this is one of the best theories that I can come up with, and there are a lot of other theories. You can look them up. It's quite interesting, actually. There's one that actually compares the Stone Tower to the Tower of Babel. Although I think that's... Not only do I think that the theory doesn't make a whole bunch sense, but considering that Christianity is a minority religion in Japan, I don't think it's very likely. Plus, this game is rated E, and I don't think that they would put a biblical story into a video game like that, especially since that if suddenly this became a biblical story, then that means that the goddesses are, you know, symbols of our God, meaning that the characters in game are strongly disrespecting him, which probably wouldn't go too well for media, we'll just say that. So I really doubt that that's the actual story of Stone Tower, although it is one of the more popular theories. So anyway, that's my theory. Again, just a theory and just that. Alright, so with that said, there's an owl statue up here, which is actually the final owl statue of the game. So, as you can see, if we look at our map, we have, well, we don't see our owl statues in the map, but there are 2 in each area, so that's always nice. And right here there's a fairy, by the way. Just like most owl statues, there is always a fairy right by it. So we're gonna go ahead and grab that fairy. Alright, so this here is the entrance to Stone Tower Temple, which, as I mentioned, is one of my favorite areas, or one of the favorite areas of mine in the game. One of my favorite areas in the game. Let's just say it like that. Forget about the fancy grammar stuff. So anyway, did not mean to do that, but get off of that. Okay, so something I want to mention is that when we look up here, kind of going with my theories, if you look at that over there, it's basically a hand pointing up to the sky with the flame on it. So apparently whoever built this doesn't like whatever is up there, and well, I'll let you decide what that is, although it is fairly obvious. So right here is the final puzzle of Stone Tower. I figured I may as well go ahead and explain this. So what we want to do here is use all 3 of our forms, and first off we're going to stand on the far right switch facing the temple and play the Elegy of Emptiness. Alright, then we're going to go to the left switch, which is actually going to reveal that thing there, which is kind of interesting. We'll see what that is later on. And lastly, Mikau. And if it wasn't already obvious, we've got to play it on the center switch. Alright, so while we're here, may as well go ahead and show off Mikau's corpse, pretty much, which is kinda creepy, as all the other ones are. He's holding his guitar, and I think the creepiest thing about this one is his face. I mean, it's just his facial expression. It says a lot. Anyway, so with all these lined up here, let's go ahead and head across these. Which, by the way, if you look at these blocks, this is the same architecture that was done on those pillars outside of Ikon Canyon, which is kind of interesting. Well, it's not interesting, I mean, we've already seen it plenty, but basically, it's just the same texture, that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, these switches here are just if you want to reset this way, they can climb back over there. Nothing too much, they're kind of pointless, since really you can just warp back to that owl statue if you want. But, actually, by the way, the owl statue, that owl statue, which you can't actually see it because of the short draw distance, was actually not here in the Japanese version of this game. So, in the Japanese version, you had to climb up Stone Tower every time if you had to leave for some reason. So, yeah. And into Stone Tower Temple. As stated, this is my favorite temple of the game. I love this temple. and it is just the perfect temple to lead off to the finale of this game. So, right ahead we see a bomb chew, which I missed, and there is a dragonfly. Unintentional kill, by the way. There's a dragonfly there, which is actually something we haven't seen since Woodfall. Let me see if I can get this. No, he's quick, and I got him. There's another dragonfly over there. We'll just quickly get rid of him. And he dropped nothing. Hooray for dropping nothing. Anyway, what we want to do is not come over here. Although there, you see there is a locked door there. Let's get some health and some arrows. What we want to do is come over more or less to the entrance, and if we look at that face thing here, you see that there is an eye switch on his eye. How convenient. And if we shoot that, a chest appears. And what do we do when a chest magically appears out of thin air? We open it! Yay! And so, as you can see, we got our first stray fairy. So once again, just like in all the other dungeons, we have 15 stray fairies in this, the same rule applies. Alright, so in this room, we'll see one of the main gimmicks of this dungeon. Let me see if I can have this bomb to do the work for me over here, and then I can. Okay. So there's this wall here that you want to bomb. We're going to use that room later on. But, first of all, this room kind of introduces the main gimmick of this dungeon. So if we go ahead and take our Goron mask, because there is this big switch here, and who do we know that's big and bulky and it's heavy and can press things like that? Darmoney! Yeah, so alright, so there's Darmani. Then we're going to come to this switch as Mikau. By the way, I'm sorry if this song is starting to get annoying, even though I did kind of cut out part of it when we were going through Stone Tower, but we are going to be hearing that song a lot, so get used to it if you haven't already gotten used to it, because it is, like I said, it is one of the main gimmicks of this dungeon, so be prepared to hear it a lot. So, we have hit all of these switches, we've stood on all of them with all three of our forms, but nothing has happened. Well, there's another switch over here along with an upside down switch, which is kind of interesting. And there's also one form that we haven't used yet, which is our Deku form. Reason being, if we step on the switch as a Deku, we can see that he is not heavy enough to press it. Now, the Deku does have its clone form, so let me go ahead and show you that. Though it is pretty much useless, because like I said, it can't really hold anything. I mean, it can't hold down any switches, but I'll go ahead and show you anyway. So this is the Deku, empty Deku clone, which is kind of one of the creepier ones actually. Just look at his eyes, it's just a feeling of emptiness. Anyway, not the point. So, we still have another switch. As you can see, if we step on this switch, it will open that gate. So, what do we do now? Well, we bomb this wall for a reason. Because over here, there is a crate, which we can use as pressure. Because apparently, this empty crate weighs more than an entire Deku. So, that makes sense. By the way, yeah. That's interesting, isn't it? Okay, so, on to the next room. Now, that last room kind of demonstrated one of the things that I really like about this temple, if I can get this thing, being that this is the last main temple of the game. I mean, technically we have the final, like, you know, the final temple, which well, it's kind of temple. I don't want to spoil anything for those who don't know, but this isn't the final thing, but I mean, we're looking for 4 giants, and this is the 4th dungeon, so we have 1 more giant, so it's the 4th main dungeon. And it basically, or it's the 4th main dungeon? Yeah, it is. It's the final main dungeon as well. And it kind of mirrors Ocarina of Time's final dungeon, which is the Spirit Temple. Being in the Spirit Temple, we had to come back to the Spirit Temple both as young and adult Link. Well, this temple we have to use all of our forms, which I think is a great way to end off the dungeons, because here we are, we've been trying to get all of these forms, I mean, throughout. We've gotten our Deku form, our Goron form, our Zora form, and we've been our human form throughout the entire game. And this is the temple where we can really execute all of that, and we're going to use all 4 of our masks quite a bit. Well, all 4 of our forms. Technically there's only 3 masks. But anyway, actually forgot to do something, so let's go back up. Right here, well, thanks for respawning, Dragonfly. If we come right here, we can see that there is a square of nothingness. Well, let's make it even more nothingness by blowing it up. Did I say nothingness? Or nothingness is. Anyway, now let's come down here, and as you can see, what was the floor is now the ceiling, and by breaking that, we can reveal some sunlight into here, which we can use our mirror shield for. So if we point it at this sunstone thing, we can get rid of that. And who do we know that can walk across lava? Darmani! And there is a chest here. And we get the dungeon map for this dungeon. So, let's take a quick look at it. And we can see something that may surprise quite a bit of people. 2 floors. Basement 1, first floor. A lot of people say that this is a very complicated dungeon, almost to the equivalent level of Great Bay. Well, I think Great Bay is more complicated, definitely, but it also has a much more confusing dungeon map. Stone Tower Temple is a fairly small temple. This is everything that you're looking at. Pretty much first floor. This is everything. But there is a twist, and it's a pretty major twist, and you'll see what that is later on. Actually, something over here that I want to mention. Well, not that I want to mention. I have to mention is that these things come alive, and when you hit them, they start spinning around and they blow up. So that's always nice, isn't it? So I'm not just doing this to show off my expertise of blowing up statues, live statues at that, but we actually want to kill all of these things because we get a prize if we do. Now, a strategy you could use is if we make it blow up on one of its own kind. That's kind of more difficult to do though, so I just go one by one. But if we blow up all of those, we can see that a chest appears, which pretty much defies all laws of just burning, period. But anyway, since that is just wood, but we get a small key with that. And before we leave, if we look around, it may seem like that we have done everything in this room. Unless you look up there, then we see that there is a hookshot target. So let's take out our hookshot and see what's up there. And there's a chest. Who would have known? It is our second stray fairy. So with that, we've done quite a bit in this episode. We've climbed Stone Tower, and we've done some stuff in this temple. This is going to be probably the longest temple, honestly. It's going to take a while to complete, but that's alright because, like I said, I love this temple. So, in the next episode of The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, we'll be continuing Stone Tower Temple. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.